good afternoon, good evening. My name is Ray Niles, and you have stumbled into the 14th episode of Red Barn Samplers. I'm super excited that you've been able to join me today, and I have many, many new and exciting things to share with you. Make sure you've got a piece of paper and a pencil. I'll be sharing some links and resources for you. And then also, I want to get you caught up on why I've had such a delay in being able to get back on FlossTube. So maybe from the personal side of things, let me just share with you a couple things that have kind of transpired in my life over the last basically 8 weeks. So our local school district had our superintendent leave the end of April, first part of May. And you all know, at least in the United States, that when a superintendent leaves that late in the year, it's really hard to find someone to replace that individual for the new coming school year. So I had said to my husband, my certification is still current. I still hold a superintendent's endorsement. Maybe I should see if there's anything I could do to help. And for those of you that know my husband, he's very easygoing. And he said, hey, if you want to do it, do it. So I reached out to the school district and I said, hey, if I can help you in any way, please let me know. Well, that was about middle of May. By the end of May, we'd had a couple different conversations. They had interviewed some interim as well as permanent superintendents. And about the middle of June came back to me and said, you're really who we want. Would you want to do this? And I said, I would be thrilled to be able to support you. I guess I kind of feel like I love this community. I love this school district. I spent 22 years in this school district before I left and joined. I actually worked for Apple for 15 years. And so to be able to come back and give back to the community that helped launch my career is something that I'm very much interested in doing. So needless to say, school starts this week. I know it's a little bit early. Students come on August 10th. But we're pretty excited about it. We've got some new construction going on. And honestly, it is so humbling to be able to come back to a place that really helped me in so many ways. And I'm so very grateful for that opportunity. So you will maybe see a little less of me on FlossTube over the next 12 months, but there will definitely be releases because I have several in the queue and I continue to stitch as well. But I felt like I needed to let all of you kind of know what was going on in order for you to better understand kind of priorities for me, and then also just to connect with you maybe at a different level. So again, I'm very excited about it. I'm very humbled to be able to be going back. I'm grateful for the opportunity, and really looking forward to working with the teachers and the staff and the students, as well as our community too. We're in the middle of a construction project, and we hope to have that wrapped up by the end of the fall season. So lots of things going on, but just very, very grateful for the opportunity. So that's the long and the short of it. Let's dig into some stitching things, some things I want to share with you. I know it's been a while. I know we set a goal of 4,000 subscribers, and when we did set that goal, I said I would be releasing or giving away 2 books. The first one is a Whitney Antiques book, and it's called Samplers and Historic Embroideries. If you have not signed up, or you want to sign up again, you're welcome to do that. The key word on this is Whitney. And this is one book that I had an extra of. And then this is the other book I had an extra of. It's called Stitched in Adversity. And this is Samplers of the Poor. And for those of us attending the Great British Sampler Weekend this fall, I'm very much looking forward to being able to go to Whitney Antiques and to be able to see some of these beautiful samplers and textiles that they have hanging in their collection. So if it's something that you're interested in, make sure you put Whitney down in the comments. And also, if you have questions, I should have said that starting. If you have questions or comments, I would love to hear from you. I really try hard to respond. So if you've got things you want to talk about or things you want me to know about, please feel free to share that. I know some of you know Faye Rigsby. Faye is an amazing finisher, and she's done some finishing for me before. And I had some work that I had completed. I'm going to pull my cheat sheet here. It was part of the Midwest retreat probably about 3 years ago. It was hands-on design. It was called The Language of Liberty, and it was a banner year. So I'm going to just kind of show you kind of what that looked like. And there were pennants, and Kathy had us pre-stitch those. And then the idea was that we would make a banner of these pre-stitched pennants when we were done. Well, that was a long time ago, and I really wasn't too interested in completing those as pennants. So I called Faye, I texted Faye and I said, Faye, this is a crazy idea, but do you think you could make those into a drum for me? And so I drew her a little picture of what I thought it would look like. And this is my drum. And you can see it's as big as my head. I absolutely love it. She used the fabric that was included. She did some beautiful stitching, decorative stitching. She put a gorgeous little set of bows on the top. So we've got pennant number 1, pennant number 2, and there's an eagle in there, which I love. And then pennant number 3, which to me looks like kind of an angel. She's got the bottom finished as well, some decorative stitches. It is beautiful, and it far exceeded my expectations. I had no idea it would come being this big, but I absolutely love it because it reminds me of the gigantic tomato I have, which again, this is a Bird Brain Designs tomato that I made. And if I can make it, you can make it because it really wasn't hard. And in it, I've got some pins from Jersey Girl Stitches. And if you recall, Jersey Girl said as soon as I hit that mark of 4,000 that she would also give away a set of her stitching pins. So if you are interested in being included in that, you might just want to put pins, P-I-N-S, in your comments as well. But I think between the two of these, I have a little bit of a Paul Bunyan theme going on. Lots of huge sized accoutrements for my studio and for my sewing. But this is a lovely design. I do believe it's available from Kathy on Hands On Design. You may want to reach out to her. Again, just a lovely finish, and it's something that I definitely think is more of a focal point, at least for my house, than having a banner, a series of pennants hanging in a banner. So kudos to Kathy for that, and a big thank you for that design. So I want to share with you a couple things, some updates. If you recall, I had released Isabella Roberts' 1848, and I've had quite a bit of interest in this, especially related to these two dogs, and more importantly, kind of the sentiment behind this piece and the idea of friendship. The dog here is extending his paw to the girl. The boy is extending his his hand to the girl. You've got the dogs, which could be symbols of guardianship or protectiveness. You've got the peace doves up here, and of course you have a beautiful Solomon's Temple. The model was done in 103 silk, and I love the cantaloupe orange border around it. And I'm going to share with you kind of a comparison between the two. And you'll notice that the comparison between the two, the original is about 3 feet tall. It's done in Berlin wool. And the model then was stitched on 40 count Duxbury by Fox and Rabbit. So you can definitely see the size difference. Okay, so it's still available. It's on my website. It's also available from your local needlework shop. So if you are interested, please make sure that you are reaching out to them. They all have them in their shops, those that are part of that auto ship program, as well as Maggie Pepperell. Now, I'm going to share with you the original of Maggie Pepperell. And she's a very sweet little red. You can kind of see where I took that picture, right? You can see my transfer dishes. Whoops, over there. But here is the original. Here is Maggie, the chart. And then here is the original with the chart. So again, a very quick stitch. If you're looking to attend a sampler weekend or a retreat and you only want to take one color with you to avoid having to have the jumble of different colors, then you might want to do a little red. But Maggie Pepperell, standard for 1887. And just a delightful little stitch, very easy to do. It measures 81 by 93, and I did that using Soie d'Alger 946. But you could do 103 or gumnut silk too, or DMC. They're all options listed on the back. Now I have 2 new releases, and I wasn't going to do 2 because I was afraid, if I do 2, then am I shorting one? And I thought, no, I'm going to do 2 because school is starting and I'm not going to have time to jump back on here in a month. So I'm actually going to release 2 samplers kind of as a welcome into fall. And I'm releasing 2 that I think would look very good hanging together. So let me show you the originals. This one here is Charlotte Eastoe, or Charlotte Eastoe, depending upon how you say her name. And then this is the original. And I'm just calling this one the EF sampler. and that's because there's an E and an F off to the very side at the bottom. So no year on these, on this one, no year on this one. We know she was 12 years old. It's very, very small, very sweet stitch. And you'll notice that it's got some four-sided stitch in here. And she doesn't use the traditional colors for a sampler. She's got 2 spots of red, but lots of violets, greens, and blues. And I thought that that would be a nice complement to this one since there's a lot of gold and blues in it as well. So let me show you what the models look like. And you can kind of see them hanging together. So this is EF, and you'll notice it says E and then F. Let's see if I can get the light to grab that a little bit better. And then this is Charlotte. Now Charlotte, the model is a lot bigger because honest to goodness, she must have stitched this on 80 count. It's very, very small. So this one is actually a bit bigger. So let me tell you a little bit about these 2 gals, or at least the types of samplers that these represent. So again, if you're looking for something a little unusual, very easy to stitch, you've got this blue here with the gold. And then you have this one that has some beautiful little pastel colors. In fact, I was talking with my friend and I said, it reminds me of sherbet ice cream. You've got the lime sherbet, you've got orange sherbet, but it's just very soft palette. So let me tell you a little bit about these. So the EF sampler is this first one, this EF sampler here. And this one is, I don't know who EF is. It could be Edward Frankel. It could be Emma Frankish. I don't know. But the colors that I used came matched off the back of the sampler. So I tried to get as close to it as I possibly could. You'll notice that numbers 1 through 12 are separated on 2 different lines with a simple cross and diamond separating numbers 10, 11, and 12. Again, I'm not sure what her thinking was there. There's different motifs throughout the chart. Probably my favorite motif of all is the dog, or it could be a deer. I'm not really sure, but you'll look right here. That dog is really cute. And on the original, it definitely stands out. There's a couple crowns in here, and then a couple flowers as well. So you could stitch this, do exactly the same thing, and then maybe put your initials here if you wanted. Or you could make this even smaller. This is on 40 count. You could make this even smaller and maybe do a flat fold or even put it in the top of a box. I think it would be beautiful in a box. It's not quite square, but it wouldn't be too hard to put together. Finished size on this is 89 by 103, and it was stitched on 40 count baked clay by Fox and Rabbit. And again, just a very sweet little piece to add to your sampler wall or to add to your collection. So let me put that away. And let me share with you a little bit about Charlotte Eastoe. So this is Charlotte. And for those of you that are just watching me for the first time, I always in all of my charts, well, you can see it in this one a little better, I always in all of my charts include a picture on the cover that includes a jar called a Horlick jar. And it happened to belong to my mother. And my mother passed away 4 years ago this week, believe it or not, which is hard to believe. And so when we were going through things, I said to my sisters, I want Mom's Horlick jar. It's a blue jar, and I have chosen to put my orts in there. So if you look for it, it's kind of like Where's Waldo on my charts. And here it is over here on this side on this chart as well. So Charlotte measures 108 by 125. And again, she was stitched using SWA 103. The model was stitched by my good friend Polly Kalich, and it was on Mayflower linen from Fox and Rabbit. So let me tell you a little bit about how I got this sampler. So in January of 2021, I was lucky enough to acquire a collection from a woman who had passed away. And she and her husband had lived in Europe and actually had traveled quite a bit. And when they came back to the States, all of her samplers were placed in storage. So when I acquired this collection, her samplers had probably not seen the light of day for 30 or 40 years. So needless to say, I felt very fortunate to be able to share her samplers with all of you. And so I'm really big on sharing the work of the girl who stitched it. But in this case, I also want to honor the woman who saved it, right? The woman who had this in her collection before I acquired it. So Charlotte, She was born in June of 1836. She was named after her mother, and she was the daughter of William and Charlotte Eastoe. And at the time of her birth, I think this is interesting, her daddy was a coach painter and her mother was a housekeeper. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know any coach painters. I don't know people that do that for a living, but obviously that's what her father did. And Charlotte died in 1898 in Lancaster County, England. She was 63 years old. We know that Charlotte married. She married Thomas Abram in London in Middlesex, England. And they had 7 children, including 4 boys and 3 girls. And their third daughter, they also named Charlotte. Census records indicate that Charlotte's husband, Thomas, was a letter prep printer. My guess is he worked with some type of printing press or a newspaper or something that was publishing periodicals or journals. And he died in 1886. She lived for another 13 years as a widow after his death. Also, the 1891 census shows that Charlotte is listed as a news agent. Again, I guess maybe I've watched too many Hallmark movies, but in my mind, I could see that Charlotte's husband, all those years, ran the printing press and then and maybe wrote stories. And then when he died, she said she could do the same thing, which, girl power, right? And so she became a news agent, so much so that the census listed her work or her occupation as a news agent. And for the next several years, I wonder, did Charlotte take over for her deceased husband? I really don't know. I'd like to think that there was. There's enough of a romantic in me that I would hope that there was. Also, we know that when Charlotte stitched her sampler, she was 12 years old. There's tiny silk stitches on a tightly woven ground cloth. Finished, it measures 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. She's got blues, greens, pale lavenders, and beige. I'm not sure why she chose red for the S and the Y, but she does have red on the S and the Y. Again, just a very, very sweet, non-traditional color choice in her palette. But again, if you're looking for something that's kind of got blues in it or those colors that are not traditional to samplers, you might want to pick up Charlotte. She and the other one, the EF sampler, will be available in your local needlework shops for 30 days. Those that are participating in my auto ship have first dibs at releasing those to the public, and then it will be available on my website probably the middle of September. So again, just wanted to get you caught up on where I had been, what I had been doing, why things had been a little bit delayed, and then also want to leave you with one tip. I've had a couple people, well, actually a lot of people say they like the sampler piece, but they really like the iPhone tip piece. So I got to thinking, what could I be doing that would be helpful for all of you in your everyday life? So if you go to your iPhone, and again, I'm an iPhone girl. It may work on your Android, I don't know. But if you go to your iPhone and you click on the word reminders. So reminders has some lines and a bunch of dots. So I'm going to click on reminders. And when you click on reminders, it kind of pulls up a screen like this. And what you're going to do is we're going to make a grocery list. And the reason we're going to make a grocery list is, I don't know about you, but I can't always remember the minute I'm ready to go shopping, everything I need for when I go shopping. So I add to my list all along. So you're going to look down here and you're going to say add list. And you're going to get a choice of what you want to call it. And I'm going to call this grocery list. And I'm going to put a 2 since I already have one. So there's grocery list. I'm also going to choose a color because I can choose a color. And sometimes it's easier to see the color than it is to see the words. So I'm going to make this one purple. So I have grocery list. I've selected purple. I can also scroll down and put an icon with it. Let's say you're going on a trip. You could make a list about your trip, like what to pack, a packing list, a reminder list of where you have tickets or things that you want to go see. In this case, I'm just going to use the smiley face, and I'm going to click done. Now, as soon as I do that, you can see grocery list 2 popped up down here at the bottom. So there's nothing listed on it because I don't have anything in here yet. So I'm going to set new reminder. Now, why am I showing you this way? Because there's an easier way once we get done with this. So I'm going to write bread. And when I hit return, you can see that, when I hit return, I get another dot. So I hit return, and I'm going to do milk, and I'm going to hit return, and I'm going to do ice cream, because you know you have to have ice cream. And now when I hit return, I get another dot. Okay, so I can make a list. I'm going to do Pepsi, and maybe I'll do Kleenex. And so now I have 5 items listed on my grocery list. When I go through the grocery store, as I purchase these items and put them on my cart, I can put a dot inside of that, and when I do, it's going to disappear. So then when I do Kleenex, it disappears. So as I'm going through the grocery store, it's quickly letting me know what I have available to put back in my cart and what I might be missing. I really like that, but I also know that sometimes I don't have time to actually add something and type it out. So if I do a return and I just say, I have to click my speaker button down at the bottom. I'm going to click my microphone. Milk. And I hit return. It puts the word in there for me. You can see it's also hearing me talk, so it's typing everything else as well. That's because I didn't shut off my microphone at the bottom. So if I want to add something verbally, I click return. I click the microphone and I say milk. I turn the microphone off and I have milk added there. So again, you may not want to use the microphone and add your items to your list, but you definitely could if you wanted. So that's one thing that might be helpful for you, especially as you're thinking about back to school or things that you want to have a list for. The other thing I want to show you is inside of Maps. So I want you to go to Maps on your iPhone. And when you go to Maps on your iPhone, I'm just going to put in, I'm going to do Statue of Liberty. So if I do Statue of Liberty as the place I want to go, it's going to give me some options as I start typing. So I do Statue of Liberty. Give it just a second, and sure enough, there it is. There's the Statue of Liberty. What a lot of people don't know is down here at the bottom where it says Statue of Liberty, right here, if I tap on that, it pulls up another submenu. It says Directions, Call, Website, Tickets, More. And then as I scroll up, it also tells me about, it gives me guides, it asks for the location. All of these things are information that are helpful about the Statue of Liberty. And a lot of people don't realize that when they're in Maps, they have access to all of these other things. Again, sometimes I think people just think maps are about taking you from one place to the other, but what it actually will do is also give you information about where you want to go. So again, I tap Statue of Liberty, I pull up, got a little bit of a glare there, and then I can dive even deeper into some of those locations. So again, I know it's a pretty short video this afternoon, but I definitely wanted to touch base with all of you and let you know kind of what was happening in my world. Also wanted to share with you the new releases, 2 new releases. And I'm hopeful that I'll be able to see some of you next week at summer school out in Phoenix. Really looking forward to being out there. Not really looking forward to being out there with it so hot, but nevertheless, the air conditioning will be a welcome change, as will being able to see some of my stitching friends. So if you're going to be out there in Phoenix and you and I have not met, please make sure you take the time to connect with me. I'd love to put a face with some of these names. And may your floss never twist. Thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.